So at first I'd like to introduce the owner of Shawnee Cycle Plaza, and it's Barry Gunner. This is Barry. And our parts department, we have Roger Hacker.
Ladies.
And Jerry Nicholson. And then for service, we have Mike Everhart and Nick Skillett. Okay, so I wanted to be sure and introduce those guys. We're going to introduce the sales team here in just a minute after we do the drawing. We really appreciate you coming tonight, and it's our first time doing something like this for women. And Biker Diva, as far as you've read the flyer, where tonight we're going to tell you about Matchmaker, and it's finding the right bike. Then also in August we're going to have the relationship, and our service department is going to help us out with that. And really it's knowing your bike from top to bottom and end to end. On the September event, it's a fashion show. We want you to look the part. So I would hope that you can attend all of those events. I also wanted to tell you that we do have a Facebook account, so if you would like us on Facebook, you'll know all the events that we have coming up, so be sure and do that. Most of you know that we are doing the Biker Diva t-shirts. They are $15, and the proceeds go to Susan G. Komen. And there is information about the Race for the Cure, too, if you would like to race. And then tomorrow is, or Saturday, excuse me, is Bikers for Boobies. So we do have information about that. So then, the main thing for tonight, as far as presentation, is from our sales department. And that would be Mike Sarver, which I don't see him, there he is, Mike Sarver, and Doug Tass. And it's about the Matchmaker.
Thank you all for coming. Mike and I try to match people's wants and needs, of course, but it's also real important that the bike is a comfortable fit to you. And people that have worked with me, some are familiar faces here that I see, some new people. The fit is very important. You can't be thinking about how uncomfortable I am, my feet don't fit, my fanny's sore, my hands. There's too many other things to think about. So comfort is pretty much the most important thing. How many ladies are here tonight that ride? Okay, a good percentage of them. The ones that are here to ride, how important is it that the bike is comfortable? Okay, in your hands, your feet, your seat. Okay, those three things. Those of you that are thinking about getting into the sport or sign up for the courses, please. Turn that down, my head. We're going to sit on some different bikes and you'll experience the hand position, the feet position, the relationship between your fanny and your feet, and your hands and your feet, and it all has to harmonize together. It's very important. For those of you that are getting ready to take perhaps one of the Motorcycle Safety Foundation courses that they offer here in Kansas City, the one that we sponsor bikes for, well, both actually, at Kansas City, Kansas Community College and Johnson County Community College, they'll have you start out on these bikes over here, these two. This black one is a Yamaha V-Star 250. The other one is a Honda Rebel 250. They use these bikes for a couple of reasons. They're inexpensive, they're bulletproof, they're very comfortable, not intimidating, and for a lot of people, they just work, okay? For a first-time bike rider who doesn't know anything about it, it's easy to learn how to shift, how to start, how to stop. They sit low to the ground so your feet can be flat on the ground when you stop. That's very confidence-inspiring as well. Some people that have a little bit more idea of speed or rode these bikes or had ridden before, or maybe some girls have ridden dirt bikes when you were kids. You know, we had brothers that were out bombing around on dirt bikes. Well, that's great, because that's great practice, and maybe you want something that's a little bit bigger or a different style of bike, maybe a sport bike looking thing or whatever. I mean, there's lots of different options. Lots of different options. For those of you that do ride and have found a bike and are comfortable with it, excuse me while I go over some of the things that hopefully somebody went over with you before you brought your bike. But those that haven't ridden much or are looking to take the class, why don't you kind of step forward a little bit, if you will? And please feel free to, if you want to set maybe your glasses down on one of the desks or something, I want you to sit on some of these bikes, and we'll talk about hand position, and we'll talk about feet position. My assistant, Mike Sarver, will be demonstrated as well. So, all right, you got the bike together. Okay. So as you get on, I guess one of the first things you want to do is just feel how it sits. It's, you know, I don't want to parallel it to trying on a pair of shoes, but it's got to just go. It's got to fit good when you sit on it. Your fanny should sit well. Your legs should, you know, if it's comfortable, have both feet flat on the floor. That's important. But then grab the handlebars, turn the handlebars straight. Kind of pick the bike up off its kickstand. Okay. And yeah, and you want to just feel that, you know, how your shoulders feel, how your arms feel, the levers, squeeze those, see if that reaches close. A lot of these bikes you can adjust some of these things very minutely. So as for example, this feels good, but you don't like the angle. These can be loosened. This can be brought up a little bit, so your hands would be more up this way as opposed to down. Okay. Same thing with some of the handlebars. Like a bicycle, you can loosen these handlebars somewhat. You have some vertical height adjustments to be made. This particular bike as well has two adjustments here where you can twist these bars up a little bit. So depending upon how that feels, arm-wise, hand-wise, there are some minute adjustments available for that. Okay.
One thing with gals, most gals have fairly small hands. A lot of times these bikes have levers that bend out quite a way, so you're out at the end of your fingers pulling in the levers. There's ways of getting around that by adjusting the tension on the lever, but there's also ways I've figured out that you can actually have the levers bent to where they're a little more straighter, so you're not all the way out reaching, because sometimes that's uncomfortable. Because I notice on you, you're all the way at the end right there. But that can be. Yamaha seems to be more so than the Hondas, but you got long fingers, so you're okay.
The other thing that's kind of important is how your feet sit on the pegs. We'll probably do this one at a time because we've got the kickstands up. Mike is going to hold the bike, and why don't you put your feet on the pegs, okay? I guess you don't want to feel as though your knees are up in your chin, but you don't want your legs to be too far stretched out where you don't feel as though you have any control on the bike, because your body will automatically get slight inputs into each peg as you're turning. Maybe you won't even realize you're doing it, but you will. And so you want that to be very comfortable thing as well. Some people don't mind these pegs. Other people want to have like a floorboard kind of thing, where some of these other bikes have a floorboard. So there's all kinds of different things that you can do to the bike, or a different bike will add other comfort things to you. Let's put the kickstands down on these, and let's just, for example, jump over to the next size bigger bike. The next size bigger bike would be maybe this Yamaha V-Star 650. Come on over and climb on this thing one time. The first thing you're going to feel is that it's heavier. Did you watch my clothes again? Once you grab the other handlebar and pull that up, you'll feel the difference in the weight.
Yeah, there's a little bit heavier. Yeah, one technique, I don't know, most people know it, but on a bike, especially some of the Yamahas, they tend to lean over farther on the stand.
Here's your mic, Mike.
And if you turn the handlebars the other way and then lift it up, it tends to be a lot easier lifting it off the stand. Because I've had people sit on a Honda, sit on a Yamaha, and they say, well, the Yamaha's a lot heavier. Even though the Yamaha may be lighter, but you just pull more weight out because of the way it's leaning over on the stand. And sometimes it's the geometry of the bars, the leverage when you're pulling it up.
Then we get into some...
One quick thing.
Yeah.
A lot of people, when they sit on a bike, they sit down and they're like, oh, this is in the way, or this is in the way of the legs. And I'm like, well, you might be touching it, but you got to figure 90% of the time, your legs are going to be up here. So that really isn't as big a factor as a lot of people make it out to be. A lot of times these exhausts have double shields, so they're not going to burn you. But if you're comfortable with your legs up on the peg, you're fine.
Nicely done. Nicely done. Then some people might want something a little sportier. We have these sport bike looking things which are not quite as an upright position. Some of these sport bikes get a bad rap because there's a lot of crazy people running around town on back wheels and zooming around, crashing, and doing stuff that they should be doing anyway. And these bikes have some pretty nice plastics on them. They're very aerodynamic. Great commuter bikes, great for a second bike, a first bike. Just a great all-around bike. Why don't you ladies please come sit on these and feel the difference in the seating position. Now here's a girl we're going to take back and go to the next step bigger. We had this bike lowered. This is a Honda 250 CBR 250. We have some other ones back over by Mike, and they tend to sit a little tall. We had this one lowered about an inch and a half, so it would be more suitable for some shorter people, which is nice. And the bike handles great. How do you like that seating position? Better. Okay, so 3 bikes into it where the cruisers are out and there's some different opportunities here. So this one, you can hold it for a little bit. It's a whole different seating position. Right. If you notice her legs are pretty much underneath her hips, pretty much like it would be if you were riding a bicycle. And there's some goodness there because you can raise yourself up off the seat. If you have a bump that you have to negotiate over, you can, kind of like a jockey, you can up off the seat and let the horse take the bump. And works out very well. Why don't you let her sit on that green Ninja 650 real quick? Then, there's these dual sport bikes, or enduros as they used to call them, I guess. These are street legal bikes. They can certainly go down a gravel road should you choose. So depending upon your spirit of the adventure, or where you live, or what you like to do, if you're like to do camping, or if you're out down the lake, or blasting around, something like this, these tend to sit a little bit higher. And they're certainly off-road capable as well as on-road capable. Make great commuter bikes as well. They sit very tall. Since you're as tall as you are, why don't you jump on this real quick? Just to
Thank you so much.
But they do sit tall. They do sit tall. Yeah.
Big jump.
So again, just a different style bike for your particular lifestyle, whatever you like to do. And they come in various sizes. The 250 is the smallest one. They have some bigger in the back. So 650s, a bigger motor, but they with a different engine size, they get taller in height as well.